Well, welcome back to another Media Firestorm case study with well, they're all our favorites, but another one of our rock star clients, Michael Banner. I'm Angel Tuccy. I'm one of the co-founders of Media Firestorm and super excited to introduce you to Michael so he can share just his experience and his success that he's had through the Media Firestorm program in really just a really short period of time. So, Michael, welcome. I know I just gave your name, but go ahead and give us your name, where you live, and tell us a little about your business.
All righty. Well, my name is Michael Banner. First of all, thank you for having me here, Angel. I'm just thrilled to do this. I live in Tampa, Florida, which is the west coast of Florida. I am a career mortgage banker that built a national niche over the last 20 to 30 years in the reverse mortgage world, which is not a very popular world. The words reverse mortgage are not well accepted in the country. It's a very misunderstood product, and but be that as it may, as I got older, and I'm getting older, I needed to reinvent myself. And therefore, I came up with something several years ago, almost 5 years ago now, called 62 Who Knew,
Hmm.
that dealt with the double-edged sword of longer lifespans. And it seemed I did it in the beginning with a very small independent television studio here on the west coast of Florida. Um, and it seemed to touch a nerve. We built up to 60 to 70,000 views per week. We did go off the air during COVID because of COVID issues. Um, but people just don't realize that the fact that you're going to get to 62 and the odds are pretty damn good you're going to go to 92
Mhm.
is a double-edged sword. Most people aren't prepared for that. And it just opened up a plethora of things to talk about that everyone just went, oh, wow. And decided to bring it back a few months ago as I'm reinventing myself. At, I guess I should say my age. I was 50 16 years ago. That's how I say my age now. Um, but reinventing yourself at this age and but all the powers to be, including my brilliant children, said bring it back as a podcast. Dad, not a little independent, TV kind of thing. And after being familiar and seeing some of your stuff on Facebook, you were the first person I called to make 62 Who Knew into a national podcast.
Wow. Oh, I didn't realize we were the first people you called to turn it into a national
First and
podcast.
only. First and only.
So you found us through Facebook, through our Need a Guest, probably our Need a Guest Facebook group. So let's talk about that, right? So you reached out to us because why? What was it about us that made you think we were the one?
Well, truthfully, I reached out to Media Firestorm, because you seem to be hitting the nail on the head. You weren't selling me on a philosophy. You weren't trying to teach the way certain things should be done. You were simply giving the message that by being a guest on powerful podcasts, and then you personally taught me the two words host swapping. Is that two words or is it a hyphenated word? I'm one word. I'm not sure. And when you said, Michael, when you do good, they come on yours and you build, and it just made sense. And then I checked out a lot of your stuff. You have a great site. And I started looking at other podcasts that were getting hundreds and thousands and tens of thousands of views. And I said, yeah, I kind of make my decisions, by my gut. And I said, yeah, this is the way I'm going to do this with Media Firestorm.
Did you have any doubts at any part of the process about joining Media Firestorm?
Oh, yes. Yeah. When you were 50, 16 years ago, you would have doubts of anything that you're not familiar with. And through my mortgage banking career, knock wood, I've been on Fox Business News, CNN, all sorts of ABC, CBS affiliates. I write for the Wall Street Journal. So I'm nationally known in my circle. I guess the cliche you would be familiar with is, I'm a big fish in a little pond. So yeah, I was hesitant to go out there in the big pond of, or the ocean, not the pond of podcasting. Could I do it? I needed to lose weight if I was going to be in front of a camera constantly. Could I do that? I've been trying for years. So yeah, and there was financial misgivings too, because it costs not a fortune, but not an insignificant amount of money either. I've written my share of checks in my 40-year career, and regretted it in less than 30 days, going, okay, chalk it up to experience. This is the first time that I wrote a fairly sizable check, and within 30 days went, wow, so glad I did this. And I guess that's what brings us to today.
Yeah, right. I think this is in fact, a fabulous testimonial. So thank you for that. So what strategies, what tips did you learn during those first 30 days? What did you implement that made you say, wow, this was the best money I've ever invested?
Well, your training calls, the first couple of training calls just shed lights on things that, again, I know a lot of your potential client base are not dinosaurs like me, but for a dinosaur like me, your training shed light on things that I just didn't know. I don't consider myself an ignorant person, but I just didn't know. And again, one of those things was host swapping. One of those things, when I called you and said, I don't know. I'm a retirement podcast, and I'm seeing hundreds and hundreds of needed guest options that you know have nothing to do with possibly retirement. And you brought up my background creating 62 Who Knew, reinventing myself, and gave me 10 other podcasts that would like to have me as a guest, not just for one reason, but for other reasons. And that really turned on a light bulb. I'm going on 4 podcasts in April. Well, 5, thanks to you guys. But I'd say 4 of them are me talking about, what I had to do to reinvent myself, and how you sometimes have to do that in your mid 60s when this great country is going through great, terrible economic times. So you taught me that it's not just to be tunnel vision, about what I want and the message I want to give, that to get myself out there and my career and my reputation out there, that's how I'll build my national reputation.
I love it. So where are you at now? How does this all make you feel now that you've got this foundation and this strategy, this system in place that you've started implementing? What positive impact do you think it's going to make?
Well, there's no doubt it's already helping. The podcast is only 9 weeks old, even though it is the successor to the 62 Who Knew television show. But that's been off the air for 3 years, almost 4 years. And so the first month that 62 Who Knew was on, we had 600 views. And then after joining you, which is only a month ago, I mean, I think last week was our 1 month anniversary, and not even being a guest on other podcasts yet, but talking to them, having them look at the show. I'm very proud to say that the second 4 weeks, we got a little over 2,200 views, which I'm very, very happy with. And the goal is 50,000, I hope, in the next 6 months. And a lot of people think that's unrealistic, but I don't think it's unrealistic if I'm going to go on 5 to 8 other national podcasts a month to push mine. I think that's what you're making possible. It's exciting at this point in life to do something like this and be excited about it.
I love your excitement. I love your enthusiasm, and you do give us hope. I think you opened up my eyes too, Michael, that if you hit 62, you'll probably hit 92. And I think that is eye-opening for a lot of us. It's good. It is a double-edged sword. Good news, bad news, because there are some financial hiccups, right? Or things that we need to address. And I do want to talk about how you help your clients. What would you tell someone who is watching this, who's unsure about whether or not to enroll in the Media Firestorm program?
What I would tell someone that's unsure, and I was unsure for a week or 10 days, and then I hit the button and did it, is this is going to get down to confidence in yourself. Media Firestorm is going to give you a successful formula, or maybe I said that backwards, a formula for success in the national podcast world. They just are. Every time I go on the Need a Guest directory, not just to do my thing every day like you taught me to do, but I'm now watching other podcasts, because you said, Michael, you can't be sincere about wanting to be on a podcast if you don't at least give some time and watch their podcast. Don't try and give them a line. Well, now I'm seeing guests on their podcast that maybe are not part of Need a Guest that I'm now inviting to be on my podcast. So it just keeps mushrooming and getting bigger and bigger. So I'd say if you're having your doubts, um, be able to put in the time. I know younger people can do it a lot quicker than me that are more familiar than me with the technology. I'm probably up, Angel, to 2.5 hours a day. And if I could, I would do it 6 hours a day. But I also write mortgages and write long-term care insurance and host and produce a podcast. I think I could take this global if I could spend hours a day on your site just doing what I want to do. So I think you got to have the commitment. I think at the end of the month, if you're not doing, if Media Firestorm is not doing what you expected it to do, I think you're going to have to look in the mirror
Mhm.
to find out why, because you give the success theory. You give them the rules, just do it.
Oh, I
Nike
love that.
commercial. Just do it.
Just do it, right? Yes, I think yeah, we give you the success, we give you the tools, but you do have to take the action. My son
Yeah.
just developed that. He realized if he spent more time, doing this one thing, right? His business
Yeah.
would grow. And so it's finding out what is the one thing that you need to spend more time on to grow your business. And Michael, I'm so delighted to talk with you, to watch your story, to watch your success. So tell our audience how you serve your clients and tell us about the show, how they can connect with you. And yeah, what's your big vision for where we're going next?
Well, 62 Who Knew is an unusual show. Our star of the show is that week's guest. It's not me or any of my expert panelists. We're there to keep things flowing. And I'm an expert on a couple of things: the use of home equity during retirement, um, longer lifespans, but I'm certainly not an expert on the literally dozens, if not hundreds of topics that people need to learn about at that point in their life, whether it be Social Security, Medicare, Medicare supplemental policies, long-term care insurance, dozens of different types of annuities. I mean, I'm not an expert at all that. So I bring on top national experts to talk about that. And then we are in the middle of updating, because we seem to be updating every week, the 62 Who Knew website. We don't just give the advice and go, all right, go see this guy. Isn't he great? Bye bye. See you next week. The 62 Who Knew website allows people to click on, do I need an annuity? Do I need to have life insurance? Am I missing some of my Social Security benefits, to tap into an expert, whether they're in Tampa, Florida, or New York, or Anchorage, Alaska, to help solve that problem? So it's not just advice, it's actionable advice. And we're proud of that. And then, as science and medical technologies continue to move forward, and that's what 62 Who Knew is about. I mean, when my parents were young, they dealt with worrying about diseases and sicknesses that, my generation didn't have to. And I dealt with certain things when I was little, 60 something years ago, that my children don't deal with. And my grandchildren don't even know some of the names of diseases that my parents worried about for me, or your grandparents worried about for you. And we bring on medical experts and scientists on 62 Who Knew as well. And what we're learning is that the medical and technology breakthroughs of the last 30 years are going to be dwarfed by the next 20 or 30 years. That
Mm.
it's going to make it look like Stone Age, what's coming now. And there's no doubt about it. It's a scientific fact. Your children, um, you have children, right?
I do. I have three.
How old are they?
My oldest, I have twins. They are 32, and my son is 27.
Okay. Um, wow, I never would have guessed that. I thought you were going to say I have twins that are 5 years old. And
Oh,
okay,
oh my
um,
goodness, no.
I will tell you. Do you have grandchildren yet? There's a
We do
reason for
not
me
know.
asking.
We don't have grandchildren.
Okay,
My
my,
husband, actually, my husband just turned 62, Michael. So yeah,
you
just
should watch my podcast.
Yeah, now
Okay.
you've got a new fan, you've got a new listener. Okay,
Um,
so how do we connect with you? Where do we send people to watch the show, plug in? Maybe you need guests.
well, of course, you go to the Need a Guest directory
Mhm.
at Media Firestorm, and you can look up either Michael Banner or 62 Who Knew. Right now, our most popular channels have been Facebook and YouTube, and we are just starting a marketing thrust next week to the Spotify's and the iHearts and the Apple Pie. We seem to be going big on the two popular ones, YouTube and Facebook, but I need to get out there on those other platforms, you know, so Joe Rogan will invite me on one day. Uh, so you can find us basically anywhere if you Google 62 Who Knew. And if you'd like to be a guest, or if you'd like me to be a guest to talk about the double-edged sword of longer lifespans, you can contact me at mbanner@62whoknew.com.
I love it. M Banner at 62whoknew.com.
Right.
And you can also find him inside of our Facebook group. And for our Media Firestorm clients, you get exclusive access to that incredible directory, and you get direct access to Michael and any of our other podcast hosts in the group. Michael, thank you so much. So excited to celebrate your success and continuing to watch you just shine and just really you're on a rocket pace for growth this year, and just honored to be a part of that with you. Actually, let me do this. So we do this, right? Yeah. So yeah, super excited that you were willing to share your experience, that it has been a positive experience. And so we invite you to get to know Michael, go watch his show, plug in with him. And if Media Firestorm is something you're considering, we'd love to have you be another one of our case studies that we showcase and highlight in the next 30 days. So, Michael, thanks so much for being here. To our audience, thanks so much for watching, and cheers, everyone. We'll see you soon.
Thank you so much, Angel.